Finland doesn't just prepare for winter, it prepares for the unthinkable. Beneath Helsinki lies a hidden city. Bunkers, malls, ice rinks, even swimming pools, all connected in a vast subterranean world. It doesn't seem like simple infrastructure, it feels like something more, something no one openly explains. So why would Finland need to hide an entire city underground? On today's episode of the Infographic Show, we're uncovering what Finland is really hiding underground and why it could be humanity's last safe haven. Helsinki, like many other capital cities in Europe, has endured wars and upheavals. But instead of just remembering the past, Finland has been preparing for the future, quietly building for decades an entire city beneath its capital. Buried deep underground are 5,500 interconnected bunkers, networks of tunnels, and other facilities all capable of providing shelter to an estimated 900,000 people. Known as Asema-tunneli, it's no bleak bunker made from cold gray concrete. Beneath Helsinki are gyms, swimming pools, restaurants, museums, cultural centers, and even an underground ice hockey rink. But despite its modern appearance, Asema-tunneli is engineered for catastrophe, for the day the unthinkable happens. From nuclear strikes to chemical or biological attacks, these bunkers are built to withstand it all. They can be sealed tight, ventilated to keep out radioactive fallout, and stocked with enough supplies to sustain civilians for weeks in a crisis. It isn't the only underground survival site in the world. We'll look at others later, but Finland's own Vault City stands apart, constantly upgraded, carefully maintained, and crucially, ready to be used at a moment's notice. So how did this come about? Who were the architects of this sprawling underground city? And was it an idea born out of practicality or paranoia? Well, like many stories, the history of Helsinki's underground starts all the way back during the Second World War. Between the years of 1939 and 1944, the city was subjected to several devastating waves of bombings, primarily at the hands of the Soviets. So in order to protect the civilian population, the first construction on underground shelters began. And then the country didn't really stop. As of today, there's a total of approximately 55,500 civilian shelters that remain functional throughout Finland. Overall, they're capable of accommodating a combined 4.8 million people. That's almost the country's total population of 5.6 million. Asema-tunneli isn't just a collection of old World War II air raid shelters that have been patched up for modern use. No, Helsinki's subterranean hideout is actually the product of another historical, world-changing conflict, the Cold War. During this time of heightened tensions, proxy wars between rival nations, and perpetual fears of nuclear Armageddon, development began on the infrastructure of what is now Asema-tunneli. While they were caught in the middle of the fighting between the Allied forces and Axis powers in World War II, Finland was, both literally and figuratively, on the edge. They were in the precarious position of needing to maintain a good relationship with the power structures of Western countries, while also being close neighbors with the Soviet Union. Things were naturally left pretty tense for Finland during the Cold War, so the security of their nation and its people became their major priority. Given the underlying threat of nuclear war posed by the US, USSR, and other countries around the world starting to stockpile atomic weapons, Finland got to work on shelters that would protect people in the event that someone decided to press the big red button. These structures were the first foundations of Asema-tunneli, the early stages in what would eventually be expanded further underground. Bunkers were built to include powerful ventilation systems, autonomous water supplies, and air filtration systems, all the necessary precautions needed to ensure the inhabitants of these shelters would be able to survive. Ever since the height of the Cold War, back in the 60s, the city of Helsinki has actively incorporated more underground construction, using the available space beneath the city itself to the advantage of its citizens. Asema-tunneli actually started construction between 1966 and 1967, when the street of Kaivukatu was dug up and concrete canopies were poured in to support the resulting tunnels. As the urban above-ground space became more densely populated, with more and more development to larger buildings, certain key functions that there wasn't the space for on the surface were relocated underground. This underground city isn't just laying vacant waiting for a nuclear war. It actually serves a major function already. It hosts train stations and connects the Helsinki Central Railway Station with the city center. Today, these underground structures are woven into daily life, but building a city beneath a city doesn't just happen on a whim. It takes decades of planning and design. Asema-tunneli and other underground projects had to make room for train stations, tracks, tunnels, utility networks, and even large commercial spaces. To fit all of this beneath the city, Finland had to come up with a plan. The city developed its underground master plan of Helsinki. Now, it might sound like something out of a villain's playbook, but the truth is far more practical. The system had to serve daily life and be ready to shelter the population if disaster struck. There's never been another city in the world that's come up with a plan quite on the scale of the underground master plan of Helsinki. Other places have tried their own underground projects, but none come close to Finland's scale or precision. Entire rock caverns, transport tunnels, and functional spaces are all mapped, protected, and preserved. And to keep the city resilient for decades to come, sticking to that plan is seen as absolutely vital. But is this even safe? Would carving out bunkers beneath a busy metropolis bring the whole city crashing down in a catastrophic cave-in? Well, not quite. In fact, a lot of the reasoning why the underground master plan of Helsinki is working out so well is thanks to the city's geographical location. Helsinki just so happens to be situated on top of solid granite bedrock. This provides it with a natural advantage that supports the continued underground construction. And deciding to take full advantage of this resource, the city's government has authorized the building of more structures below ground. This isn't just an engineering project, it's a strategic part of the city's growth, treated as routinely as building housing or repaving streets. We've seen how the city avoids collapse, but the real question is, how do you actually carve out a hidden city beneath Helsinki? Well, it's boring. Massive tunneling machines grind through the rock, while drilling and blasting open new passages in record time. Sometimes engineers turn to drilling and blasting to speed things up. The faster the tunnels are dug, the sooner they can be transformed into useful underground spaces. Because a tunnel on its own isn't so much fun if it just sits empty. We'll circle back to more of the amenities that Asema-Tunneli has to offer in a moment, but first we need to talk about ventilation. One key factor behind Finland's underground success is modern ventilation and sealing technology. It makes the tunnels safe to work in and safe to live in if the need ever arises. Air purification systems keep out any nasty radioactive fallout or airborne chemicals that might be lingering up on the surface in the aftermath of a major catastrophe. The goal is to ensure safe and comfortable living conditions for people that might end up migrating underground. It's nice to know that Finland is dedicated to making sure its capital's citizens can see out the apocalypse in comfort. These aren't set to be dingy, ramshackle survival bunkers, with only open flames and flashlights to use as light sources. The structures beneath Helsinki are also equipped with backup sources of electricity, should a wide-scale attack cripple Finland's power grids. There's also a dedicated water supply for Asema-Tunneli, and this means the underground city will remain lit, watered, and autonomous during the end of the world. And as if they hadn't already thought of everything, engineers have implemented geothermal systems that can be used to either heat or cool the facilities as needed. And that is not just a creature comfort to make the winter months less chilly. These geothermal systems are designed to reduce the overall energy consumption of Asema-Tunneli, ensuring that the underground city stays environmentally friendly. After all, just because the bombs have dropped is no excuse to stop worrying about your carbon footprint. And we're not joking on that last part. The city's heat pumps utilize seawater to power them. That means less energy wasted and fewer carbon emissions released into the atmosphere. Let's take a closer look at what's really down there. One striking example is the Amos Rex Museum, built directly beneath Helsinki's Lasapalazzi Square. At street level, visitors see 5 strange concrete mounds scattered among the historic buildings. But these aren't sculptures, they're skylights. Each dome funnels daylight into the underground exhibition halls below. The museum is fully functional and fully public, blending art with city life and turning an underground space into an everyday cultural landmark. Then there's the commercial underground spaces. One of the biggest among them is the Forum, a huge shopping mall and one of the oldest in all of Finland. Asema-Tunneli has connections that lead directly to the Forum, as well as other department stores. Shops here hold special licenses, letting them stay open longer than most in the city, even on national holidays. Also located nearby is Kamppi Center, another large mall, as well as the lower floor of Sakutalo. These buildings, as well as the Forum, have floors that are above ground as well as underground levels, making them some of the largest retail venues in the entire city. In 2021, the Forum was visited by almost 7 million people, and Kamppi Center by just shy of 17 million. These lower levels can be accessed via tunnels that take shoppers through the Forum, with interconnecting walkways that provide freedom of movement across a wide area of the city center, all without needing to be above ground. It's not just massive malls either. Throughout the underground city are a number of smaller commercial outlets, including cafes, restaurants, supermarkets, and even electronics and clothing stores. What helps to connect them all is the network of pedestrian tunnels that integrate Asimattunneli with the wider transport infrastructure of central Helsinki. These pedestrian tunnels serve the same function as streets above the ground. During the busiest hours of the day, they're used by around 1,500 to 2,000 pedestrians per hour. Tunnels might be akin to the streets below the streets, but there are other ways to get around too. Like we mentioned before, down there you can access the central railway station. The pedestrian tunnels are designed to ease the load on public transport above, while also thinning foot traffic in the streets. The result is a less crowded city center and fewer delays when rain or snow hits. To the south, the tunnels connect two large underground parking lots. Multiple exits also lead straight up to the main streets and tram stops. Asimattunneli isn't sealed off, it's built as a true extension of the city itself. We already mentioned the Art Museum, the Amos Rex, and its underground exhibition halls, but there are plenty of other subterranean facilities open to the public in Helsinki. Among them is Musiikkitalo, the Helsinki Music Center. 2/3 of this structure is located underground. Over in the northern part of the city, you'll find the Töölö district, which is home to a church that was carved directly into rock. And that's not to mention the Olympic Stadium complex too, which was reconstructed between 2015 and 2020, adding more than 215,000 square feet of underground sports areas. These spaces might not be connected to the pedestrian tunnels that run under the city center yet, but they can be accessed through technical passages. There are already plans to construct a new metro line just to make access easier. But of course, Asimattunneli isn't just an underground city, it's a huge series of publicly accessible civil defense shelters marked with a blue triangle on an orange background. The entrances are scattered across the city and often tucked inside metro stations. To most people, they look like ordinary parking garage ramps, nothing out of the ordinary. The shelters are accessed via a complex system of engineering tunnels that crisscross beneath the entire city. However, they're not open to the public. According to the Underground Master Plan, these tunnels, not to be confused with the pedestrian tunnels, are what connect the civil protection structures with each other. Finnish legislation also strictly regulates exactly how any defense shelters are constructed, and the bunkers underneath Helsinki are no exception. The exact interiors of Finland's civil defense shelters aren't public knowledge, but they still have to meet strict standards: durability, ventilation, and even their own water supply. It's also mandatory that each one comes with a toilet and a room for providing medical assistance. The minimum service life of these facilities is thought to be around 30 years. Of course, Finland isn't the only nation to try their hand at building extreme underground shelters. By law, Switzerland has enough bunkers to house every one of its citizens. Over in North Korea, there are thought to be several massive underground complexes that have been shrouded in secrecy and kept away from prying eyes. And of course, in the United States, sites like Cheyenne Mountain are utilized for military purposes. But Finland's system is unique. What stands out about it is that Asimattunneli wasn't just built with the country's leaders or soldiers in mind, it's designed to accommodate everyone. In a world where nuclear tensions are once again rising, Finland's hidden underground city is a model of resilience and a potential path to survival in the worst-case scenario. And they're still being updated in response to current global tensions. After Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Finland began upgrading its defensive infrastructure, modernizing shelters, and improving equipment. Helsinki's underground city isn't a tourist attraction, it's a vital asset in Finland's security system. Its size alone is staggering, but combined with how seamlessly it serves daily life, Asimattunneli shows a level of readiness few cities can match. It's the gold standard for civilian nuclear defense. By treating underground space as both protection and future planning, Finland has built a system that blends safety with comfort, designed to care for its people even in the worst of times. In the event of a global catastrophe, most countries will be scrambling for cover or will have only ensured the survival of a select few elites. But over in Finland, they've already built a survival plan big enough for the entire nation. In Helsinki alone, the shelter coverage level is 130%. That means there's enough space to protect not only all of the city's residents, but also any guests that might be visiting when Doomsday hits. What would you do if the bombs started falling? Watch This Is How You Actually Survive a Nuclear Attack to learn how to make it through the unthinkable, or click on this video instead.